Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Rashi Hamalio and today I want to review and swatch for you Ilia's new bronzer. This is Novelty Nightlight Bronzing Powder. Now I have already talked about this bronzer as part of my top rated bronzer video, but this bronzer is so beautiful that I think it just deserves its own video. Also wanted to do a video on this because for those of you that are actually looking for reviews or swatches for brown skin for this particular shade, it'll be a lot easier for you to find this video rather than trying to find it in my bronzer video, because I talked about so many bronzers in that video. It's my ultimate faves list. So if you haven't seen it, do check it out. Now let's talk about this. So Ilia came out with their bronzer this year, and I honestly have not tried anything from Ilia before this. This was my first purchase and I am very impressed. This is a creamy bronzer and the shade is perfection for medium brown skin tones. If you're a little bit darker than me, this will still look good on you, but if you have truly deeper skin tones, I don't think this has enough depth to reach that. Unfortunately, this bronzer does only come in two shades. This is the darkest of the two, and I'm hoping Ilia will release more shades in this bronzer because it's really beautiful. It blends like a dream. It applies like a creamy bronzer. It's amazing. So let's get into the demo and let me show you what this looks like on my skin. So I'm just using my Shikohodo brush in T2. I love this brush. Let me just show you a close-up of it. This is the brush from Shikohodo. It is gorgeous. I got it from Beautylish, and since the day I've gotten it, I honestly I don't use anything else for bronzer. I use these brushes. I have two of these. This one from Shikohodo, which is a lot smaller. So if I put these two together, this is what these brushes look like. And both of these serve a different purpose for me. This one right here I use for bronzers that are very pigmented. And with pigmented bronzers, you want to make sure you use a large, not dense brush, right? It's gotta be a fluffy brush, that way you're not picking up too much product and it's easy to blend. Whereas this one here, it's not as big as T2. This one is called, sorry if I didn't mention, T4. So T4 is not as big as T2 and it's a little bit more dense. So this is fantastic for those bronzers that aren't too pigmented and they're a little bit on the lighter spectrum when you want to work quickly and build up that pigmentation on your cheeks pretty quickly. So this one is great for that. Now let's get into this bronzer application. So I'm just going to take a little bit and just going to pat it. So with this bronzer, it is a creamy powder, so I much prefer, did you see that color? Like, it already has pigment. It's beautiful. I like to pat it down and then I'll do a blend. I feel like this bronzer just works best with this application, especially if you haven't powdered this area here, and I haven't. I generally don't like to powder the sides of my face because I want to retain some of that dewiness. And so with bronzers like these, it's much better to just pat it on and then blend. And how gorgeous is that? So I'm actually happy with how this looks. I don't think I'm going to build this up even more. So that is the bronzer there. Now this bronzer is definitely pigmented, so if you're lighter than me, you're gonna have to go with a lighter hand. If you're darker than me, you can absolutely build this up because it can go a lot darker. And now I'm just going to apply some on my forehead. And even though this is a creamy bronzer, this doesn't actually emphasize any texture on my face. So I have just a little bit of texture on my cheeks. It's not too much, but it definitely doesn't emphasize that, which I love. It's beautiful. So the packaging looks really clean and sturdy. It's got a pinky beige color to the casing. And then of course it has the mirror on the inside. The mirror is a really good size, by the way, so you can definitely apply your bronzer using the mirror camera. And then of course you've got your bronzer right here. I'm just gonna swipe my hand on it. And this is what it looks like. Oh, how beautiful is that? I mean, seriously, how beautiful is this bronzer? Check that out. It feels so smooth to the touch. The color is just perfection. It's got very strong yellow undertones and a bit of caramel, and yes, the color is perfection. And now I'm just going to insert a picture here comparing this bronzer against some of my other bronzers so you can see what the shade looks like in comparison to some of the other bronzers that you may already own. And I'm very happy to have this in my collection. I use this bronzer all the time. Highly recommend, a great find. Thank you so much for watching. This is just a very quick video talking about a beautiful find this year, and I will see you guys in my next video. See ya!